Welcome to the Fantasy Dummies Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy.
And I'm Kay.
And we are the Fantasy Dummies.
I'm the fantasy. He's the dummy.
I don't know if we should keep going with that. That makes me sound like a kind of a dumbass, huh?
Sure. I mean, it makes me feel better that, I can say that.
You're the fantasy and the dummy?
Yeah.
Well, we have a good show for you guys today. We're going to be talking about the AFC South.
Yeah, sure.
Do you even know what teams are in the AFC South?
Of course.
Name them.
Texans, Colts.
Uh-huh. Good start.
Jaguars.
Yeah, you got one more. Don't look at your notes. They're pretty irrelevant, I would say. At least for this upcoming season.
I don't remember.
Texans, Colts, Jaguars, and Titans.
Oh.
Do you know who the quarterback of the Titans is? That's okay. We'll talk about it. That's why we're here for you guys.
Sure, I'm still the fantasy. I don't give a crap what you say.
Training camp has started for every single team, which is pretty cool because we get to see those really hype training camp videos. You know, the ones where they're making sideline catches in their shorts.
In their shorts?
Yeah, it's hype seeing like slow-mo, throws against people that aren't allowed to hit you, and then they're making the sideline catches
those
in shorts.
Throws. It's like 100-yard bombs. Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
totally playable. Possible.
You'll get there. Yeah, I've been keeping up with the Texans training camp, and it's been raining pretty much every day, which is kind of depressing. But I think that's, I don't know.
It's Texas. Rain in the summer is a blessing. It's not depressing.
Actually, Dalton Schultz did say that they're actually very happy that it's not like 100 degrees, even though it's been raining.
Rain in Texas is in the summer. Oh my God, dude.
Yeah, but it's pretty crazy how training camp time and right before the season starts, you really get a lot of narratives and stuff kind of flying all over the place. And we'll talk about a few that I've heard so far and how they relate to the teams in the AFC South. With that, let's get right into the news.
Dun, 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 dun. I don't know. You looked at me like...
I was waiting for you to do something, and I don't know if I was expecting the drunk trumpet or whatever the hell that was.
It's Captain Underpants.
Captain Underpants?
Yeah.
I've never seen the Captain Underpants movies. I read the books when I was a child, but I never watched the movie. I didn't realize there were sounds affiliated with Captain Underpants.
I don't actually know if it's from Captain Underpants, but I think it is.
So you just made it up?
No, I mean, you know what I'm talking about. You know where it's, it's a thing.
Yes, I do know. Okay.
Yeah, see.
Speaking of Captain Underpants.
Wait, wait, before you go into the actual news,
okay.
There is a Captain Underpants in NFL?
Who?
I don't know. I'm asking you. Because you said, speaking of Captain Underpants.
Who would be the best Captain Underpants character in the NFL? Jerry Jones?
Absolutely not.
Because Captain Underpants was kind of old, was he not? Because he was a teacher.
No. Yes, he's a principal.
He was a principal. That's what it was. Jerry Jones as Captain Underpants would be...
No.
That'd be pretty live.
No.
No?
Yeah. Moving on.
Moving on into the news. There were a couple of quarterbacks that got that shmoney.
Shmoney.
I'm sure we have a shmoney drop somewhere, but... Oh, you just rolled your eyes.
No, that was my shmoney drop right there. Rolled my eyes.
Oh, roll your eyes. So, Tua got a 4-year, $212 million contract.
Ew.
You don't like that?
That is so much money.
That is so much money. That's so much money that I'm not even... Okay, let me ask you something, and you got to listen to me. So there was a video that came out today. After Tua signed his contract, he came to training camp today. I don't know if you saw this. He came to training camp practice this morning, and he grabbed the mic on the sideline, and he started talking to the crowd, and everyone was cheering and whatnot, like, "Hey, that's my QB, yeah," stuff like that. He grabs the mic and he goes, you know that line that I forget what movie it's from, but that Tom Cruise says, he goes, "Show me the money." Yeah.
Yeah.
He did that to the crowd. How do you feel about that? Like, do you think Tua has done enough as a quarterback in the NFL?
I think it's more deserving than the other guy on the list for today, for damn sure.
We will agree to disagree with that one, but
whatever.
Do you think Tua has done enough to be allowed to do a stunt like that? Because let's be honest, okay? If I'm a Dolphins fan and I'm spending training camp practice sitting out there in like the hot 100-degree humid muggy air, and I love the Dolphins, but Tua has had one fully healthy season. I mean, I know he led the league in passing yards, and he's a good quarterback. Is he elite? I don't know. We don't know yet. I feel like from an outside fan looking in, the only people that really think Tua's really good are Dolphins fans.
I kind of have a hot take about how all the NFL players are getting paid in the past couple of years. And I kind of equate it more to kind of like fast food workers.
Okay, you gotta build the bridge for me to get me there.
Yeah. Well, fast food workers, especially, I mean, I'm not trying to crap on anyone or anyone's state or their policies and their laws or whatever, but it's just that fast food workers are basically kind of like what sets the bar for how much people actually get paid, right?
We're just talking about minimum wage?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not even minimum wage, because minimum wage for most is like around $7. But, if you're getting paid minimum wage, that's pretty rough. I'm sorry. But it's just that I don't know how to put it.
How does this go back to Tua?
I'm just goes back to all NFL players, because fast food workers, if you're getting paid at $15 an hour as a minimum wage for basically fast food workers, that means it raises the bar for everyone else that are working more skilled jobs or, other things. So that means that if you have...
Are you trying to say that this is quarterback inflation?
It's quarterback inflation. It's just inflation in general, because I just don't think that these guys are really worth that much money.
Let me throw a counterpoint at you. Let me throw a counterpoint. What's the most important position on an NFL team? Quarterback. What is the hardest position to play in arguably all of sports? It's quarterback.
Kicker.
It's quarterback.
It's a kicker.
So right now, with all the contracts coming out with the quarterbacks, I think the NFL is trying to tell people that once they feel like they have a guy that they can win with, and it doesn't even have to be like a Mahomes level guy, once they feel like they have a guy that they can go win a playoff game or get to the Super Bowl with, you just got to pay him market rate. And right now, market rate for quarterbacks is above $50 million. So I think it's more so that the Dolphins realize that if they don't give Tua this ginormous contract, what are they going to do? Are they going to draft a quarterback? If so, I mean, everyone on the roster is old. I mean, the running back, Mostert's old. Tyreek is old. Everyone's old. If they don't pay Tua, then they just have to do a full rebuild reset. And honestly, with how good their team is right now, I don't think they want to tell their fans that. It's kind of something I think they just had to do. And they just had to meet in the middle with a number that Tua was willing to go down to. So that number is $53 million a season, which is the same as the Jared Goff contract earlier this offseason. So you can argue who's better between those two, since they're being paid the same, Goff versus Tua. I think they're pretty similar.
I really just disagree with the Jordan Love.
Well, speaking of which, Jordan Love also got a 4-year, $220 million contract the same day as Tua. And from what I was reading, apparently Jordan Love and Tua have the same agent. So really what I was reading was Love actually got his contract before Tua did, but they announced the Tua contract first because the agent knew that Love was going to break the record for highest paid quarterback of NFL history. So
I really, really disagree with how much Jordan Love is getting paid. I feel like he has not. I feel like he hasn't shown that he is worth that much damn money.
Well, so let's review what Love has done since he's been in the NFL.
I mean, sure, right? Sure, go ahead. Sorry.
So he gets drafted in the first round while Aaron Rodgers is still in Green Bay. He obviously is going to have to sit. Jordan Love sits for 4 years, I believe, as a first round pick. So it was a big deal when he got drafted because remember, Green Bay notoriously never took a wide receiver in the first round in Aaron Rodgers' tenure in Green Bay. And they ended up taking Jordan Love in the first round, which rubbed him the wrong way, I'm sure. So Love sits for 4 years. He comes in last year. He kind of looks like shit for the first half of the season. It's kind of to be expected. He's technically, I mean, not technically a rookie, but it's his first starting season. But the last 8 games of the season, he played out of his mind. He really did. If you go back and watch the Jordan Love last 8 games of last season, he played as good as anyone else in the league, and he showed a lot. And that's why Green Bay was willing to do this contract. So, it's, again, this is just where, paying quarterbacks, this is how it goes. If you feel like you have a guy and that guy can win a playoff game, which Jordan Love did last year. Remember, he went in and he I don't know if you remember, but Green Bay smoked the Cowboys in the playoffs.
That was awesome.
Yeah, they went in and embarrassed the Cowboys, and Jordan Love went out there and proved he can go win a damn game. Okay, so from what I saw from Love, I thought the way Love was playing at the end of last season was on par with literally the best in the game. And that's what Green Bay is trying to bet on. They saw a really good Jordan Love and they were like, let's give him 4 more years at the top of the market and hopefully he can replicate that. So
I'm looking at a chart.
Okay. What's the chart say?
This is a chart of the highest paid, top 10 highest paid quarterback.
Sure.
Okay. Trevor Lawrence, $55 million.
Mm-hmm.
He has started in 50 games.
Okay.
His record is 20-30.
Yeah.
His playoff is a 1-1.
Okay, hold it right there. Do you think Trevor Lawrence deserves to be $55 million a year? Because he just got paid too.
I mean, as long as he doesn't cut his hair, he can be sunshine.
So you think?
I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding.
You think Jordan Love? If you had those 2 players in a room and you could only pay one of them, who would you pay? From their 2 bodies of work. From their 2 bodies, you have to pay one.
And that's the thing. I don't know. I don't know Jordan Love enough.
No, I think, and I'm gonna sound like a hater because
it's a long list, though. What I'm saying.
Okay, keep going. Sorry.
And number 2, right below him, is Joe Burrow, Bengals, $55 million, 52 starts, 29-22, and a tie.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Love is 3rd with the Packers. So Trevor Lawrence has 50 starts. Joe Burrow has 52 starts. It's 20-30, 29-22 for both of them, right? Their record. Jordan Love, Packers, $55 million.
Yeah.
He has 18 starts.
Yeah.
And his record is 9-9 and 1-1.
Yeah.
It's just, it is nuts, dude. That's crazy.
Once you get a guy, you got to pay him. I mean, that's just how it goes. I'm telling you.
I guess it doesn't really help that he sat for several years before he got to shine.
This brings up my question to you then. Since you're looking at these 2 contracts and shitting on them, essentially, how much would you pay Dak? Because Dak needs to get paid. He's waiting on a hold. He's holding out right now, or not holding out, but he's waiting on a contract from the Cowboys.
So really unfair because
Dak wants 60.
Ain't no way.
He wants 60.
He's not getting 60, but
Okay,
he'll probably get 60 because it's Jerry Jones.
No, hold on. Jerry Jones says there's a reason why he hasn't been paid yet. It's Jerry Jones. Dak wants $60 million a year. Are you going to pay him that? That's going to be $5 million more than all those other quarterbacks.
I wouldn't. I would lose my mind if he does get paid that much. That is a shit ton of money.
I mean,
how much does Mahomes get paid?
Mahomes' contract is one of one. You can't really look at Mahomes and compare it because they signed him to a legacy contract. It was like 10 years or something, and they gave him stakes in the soccer league, I think, or the soccer team in Kansas City. Like, it was a whole different deal.
It's $45 million a year.
Like I said, it's a legacy deal. You can't compare it. I'm talking about other stuff.
Okay.
So let's move on to the AFC South now. Okay. So let's talk about the Texans.
What about the Texans?
What about the Texans? How about them Texans?
Yeah, how about them Texans?
CJ Stroud. In my notes here, I just have a heart face.
Okay.
No, don't like it?
Sure. CJ Stroud is cool. He's
cool. He's very good.
Very good.
Now,
God-loving guy.
I'm going to say so he finished last year with 4,108 yards, 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, offensive rookie of the year, had the best touchdown to interception ratio in the NFL, had the best touchdown to interception ratio since, I believe the list was Tom Brady and Peyton Manning or something like that. I forget the list. There's like 3 QBs on it, and he did it as a rookie. So it was like passing yards per game. He had to lead the league in passing yards per game and lead the league in touchdown to interception ratio. So he did that in his rookie season, and it's only been done by like a couple other people. So CJ Stroud is a baller. Okay, he's really, really good, and he's being rewarded with that in fantasy by going in, like, I think it opened up in the 4th round. Now he has dropped, and he's currently going at the 5th, 6th round, somewhere in there. He's about QB 5 off the board. So let's talk about it. And I'm not talking about the rest of the team until we talk about CJ Stroud and his draft position. I'm going to say something that might be a little blasphemous and might kind of shock you coming from a Texans fan. I'm not drafting him this year.
Why?
He is very expensive. He is, look, I love the dude. For fantasy, I can't draft him. He's probably, if I had to, I mean, we're going to come up with a sleepers and bust list, later on in the, preseason or whatever. If I had to come up with a bust list right now, I'm not even kidding, he would be number 1. Or not a bust list, but just do not draft list.
Do not draft list?
I'm not drafting him. Because he is a pocket passer. He doesn't run at all. And he is so expensive where he's going right now. It's like I said before, he's going in the 4th. Well, he opened up in the 4th round. He since then has dropped into the 5th round and sometimes the 6th. That's about where he's going, is like late 5th and 6th. He's going as the QB 5. Now, the reason why he's on my do not draft list is because there's, I would say, and again, this is going to go into our QB strategy, which I'll talk about in a later episode, but more in depth. But I'll talk about it here a little bit. CJ Stroud doesn't really rush for anything. He's just a pocket passer, like I was saying. There are so many just pocket passers that are being drafted after him that have the same ceiling as he does. Like, he would have to throw for between 35 to 40 touchdowns to really take advantage of his price. Now, can he do that? Yeah, he can do that. But it's a lot riskier to draft a pocket only passer this early in the draft when you can grab like a Brock Purdy?
Like Jalen Hurts.
No, he's not a pocket passer. He rushes.
Oh, sorry, I misheard you. I must not have been paying attention.
That happens all the time. You can grab like a Brock Purdy or a Jordan Love or a Tua in 5 or 6 rounds after CJ Stroud. And they have the same exact ceiling as he does. So as much as I love CJ Stroud, and I really hope he makes me look like a complete idiot at the end of the season, I'm not drafting him.
Cool. I mean, I know someone that would draft him just because he's a Texan.
Considering we're in Texas and we know a lot of Texans fans, that's also another thing about at least us. He's definitely not going to be on my team because I'm not going to draft him where he's currently going, and I'm definitely not going to reach for him. And I know in my drafts, my personal drafts, people are going to reach for him.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Got to. Homer team.
So last season, he finished with 16 points per game in PPR. Do you think 16 points per game from your quarterback would be good?
Absolutely not. I expect like 25 at least.
So I'd consider like a good game for a quarterback in a PPR league to be 20 to 22 points. Now, anything over that is a great game. So like 25 to 30, we're cooking with gas, right?
Yeah. Especially drafted as QB5. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
QB5 for sure.
Yeah,
average 25, please.
You have to be as a pocket passer, you got to be balling the hell out to really warrant drafting that
like
high.
Mahomes number right there.
Yeah, he's just very hyped right now, obviously, for good reason. Like I said, offensive rookie of the year, they add Stephon Diggs, but I can't get there. Not at his price. So speaking of Stephon, we can talk about their wide receivers. So they got Nico Collins, they got Tank Dell, and now they got Stephon Diggs.
Is Tank Dell healthy?
Tank Dell is healthy. So Tank Dell broke his fibula last season, blocking on the goal line. He was blocking on the goal line.
That was such a dumb play, dude.
Well, from what I was told, or not told, from what I read, it was more so like the coach didn't decide to use Tank Dell as a blocker. Tank Dell kind of just did the thing. He tanked. And it was more so that he's just a football player trying to make a football play, and push came to shove and his leg broke.
Yeah.
So he should be healed from that. He's already running around. He looks great in camp. Not to mention, he also got shot in the offseason. I don't know if you remember that.
That's crazy.
He was at a party in Florida and he got shot in the leg. Now,
I was in Florida.
Yeah, I believe it was in Florida. And I don't think it was a full on like bullet into the leg, but it was more so a graze. But still, he got shot. And if he would have been any thicker, he probably would have gotten more damage. But considering he's 160 pounds,
he's so skinny.
He's so small. If you look at him in his Guardian helmet, those little like foam helmets that they have to wear,
it just looks like
he looks
a
like
pop figure.
He looks like a pop figure. So they got Tank Dell, the pop figure, and they also have Nico, who I believe it's safe to say that Nico had a breakout year last year. There's some crazy like analytical stats talking about how good Nico was last year. It was a very he had a great season, but it was even more underrated than I think people realize, which is why he's going in the second round this year. He was the second best player in press man coverage, only behind CeeDee Lamb.
Oh,
he's in one-on-ones man press coverage. Nico Collins is a monster. He's like 6'4".
Dang.
He's 6'3", 6'4", and he's 220 or 225. Is
that 6'4" with shoes on and hair?
He doesn't need all that, and he runs fast as shit. So he's just a gazelle out there, and the dude's a monster. And not to mention, like I said before, they added Steph Diggs to this, and so now you got arguably 3 really, really good receivers. Okay.
One is aging,
sure. Steph Diggs definitely didn't have the best year last year. He was doing really well the first half. Then Buffalo made an OC change halfway through the year, and then he kind of got thrown under the bus, I'd say. Now, you can argue he lost a step. You can argue he doesn't look as good in the second half. Or you could argue that just the offensive coordinator change and shift from a more pass-heavy offense to a more balanced offense with the run game in Buffalo led to him kind of declining. I really don't have a strong opinion on any of that. Did he probably lose a little bit? Probably, but he was also probably nudged out of the game plan, for what it's worth. So he comes over here. Now, my initial reaction to all this, I really, really want to draft Tank. I love Tank.
Yeah, it was a beast last season until he got hurt.
He was a beast. There was a 3-week span in there in his season. I forget which weeks it was, but there's a 3-week span where he was the wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
So he was killing it. And right now he is the cheapest of the 3. So right now the ADPs for the 3 receivers, Nico is going 17th overall, which is middle of the second. Steph is number 32 overall, and Tank is 35 overall. So Nico's clearly about a round and a half ahead of the other 2, and Steph and Tank are going around the same spot. But Tank the whole offseason so far has been the lowest of the 3. Now, it's going to sound crazy because I am a Texans fan. I watch a lot of their games, if not all their games.
Like all of them.
I watch all their games. I don't know if I want any of them. Honestly, it is really tough for me to sit here and figure out who I want to draft.
Oh, okay.
So the reason why I like Tank a lot, is because CJ Stroud particularly loves him some Tank Dell. This has been obvious from there was an off-season video where CJ Stroud was asked by Micah Parsons to come up with an offense that would take on Micah Parsons' best defense. So he was listing off some players for his offense that would line up as the quote unquote best offense. Tank Dell was one of his 3 receivers.
Oh.
Yeah. CJ loves him some Tank Dell. So Tank Dell is the cheapest of the 3, which also helps me get there with him. If there was a receiver I would want to draft, I'd want to draft Tank, because I think there's an opportunity here for Tank Dell to end as the number 1 receiver on the Texans. There's an opportunity. Do I think it's going to happen? Maybe not, but there is an opportunity, and I kind of want to take that opportunity. So I think Nico is a baller. Drafting him in the second round when there's the other 2 receivers along with him is really tough for me.
Yeah, especially since last season, Tank was, he was basically the number 1, the wide receiver 1 for the Texans until he got hurt.
Yeah, so that was the thing, right? Is that there were weeks where it was a Nico week, and there's weeks that it's a Tank week, and they kind of bounce back and forth between a Tank week and a Nico week. But when it was a Tank week, it felt really good. When it was a Nico week and you had Nico, it was really good. So it's like I just can't see Nico being consistent enough to be worth a second round pick. I think there's safer options in the second round. So I'm probably not going to be drafting any Nico either. And Steph, so Diggs comes in, and in my opinion, he was going to be the number 3 receiver out of this bunch just because CJ already has chemistry with the other 2. But according to DJ Bieniemy, who is a local Houston beat writer, in the first few days of training camp, Steph Diggs has been CJ's number 1 option. So what do we do?
It's Stephon Diggs. You're a guy. It's your second year out of college. You want to throw the Stephon Diggs.
Well, you don't want to piss Stephon Diggs off, right? Because
you've been watching Stephon Diggs since and you go over there and you play with him. There's
just so much to digest here, and I don't really have a strong conviction either way, but I don't know if one of them falls in the draft, I'll probably take them just because I'm a Texans fan. But right now, I think I'm drafting Tank, and I'm kind of leaving the other ones alone where they're at. I don't know if I can get there. So, so let's talk about Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon comes in here and from Cincinnati, and he's going to be much better than what they had last year. You know, they had Dameon Pierce and Singletary, and I think Joe Mixon is definitely an upgrade over all this.
As long as he stays healthy.
As long as he stays healthy, but he's been healthy the last 2 seasons. I believe he's played every game.
Yeah,
the last
I
2
only
seasons.
draft him on his hurt seasons.
Now, it sounds like you just have a negative view on Joe Mixon because of past trauma with Joe Mixon.
I mean, I've only had one season where I had it was bad because he actually was hurt really bad. But when he was good and he was healthy, dude, it was really good.
Yeah. So I think Joe Mixon is going to be pretty good for them this year. I'm totally cool drafting Joe Mixon where he's going. I think he's going like 4th-ish round. I don't know the exact pick number, but I believe he's a target this year, especially if you kind of go wide receiver heavy early. He's a good running back to come back with in the late 4th, early 5th, somewhere in there. So Dalton Schultz is pretty dust, I think. And not because I think Dalton Schultz is bad, but when you have Tank Dell, Nico Collins, and Steph Diggs along with Joe Mixon, I don't know if you're going to get the ball enough to really warrant, fantasy consideration. So
I mean, plus it's Dalton Schultz.
Well, again, not talking shit on Dalton Schultz. He is what he is. He's a middle of the road, mid, kind of maybe a slightly above average tight end.
I'm just a Cowboyist.
Sure, you might be just a Cowboyist. So
yeah, anyone that's from the Cowboys is just, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So that's the Texans for you. They finished last season 10-7. Their upcoming schedule is the 3rd hardest in the NFL. So they're going up against a bunch of number 1 teams. Their schedule's a lot tougher. They have, like, around Christmas time, they have 3 games in 10 days, all against, I think it's against the Dolphins, the Ravens, and the Chiefs. So that is the playoff schedule for fantasy for the Texans. So there's some issues here for fantasy. There's a lot of everyone's hyped up. The receivers are going to, they're all going to be vulturing touches off one another. CJ Stroud is super expensive. And as much as I love my Texans, I think the only real target here for me is Joe Mixon. So, anything to add to that?
No.
All right. So let's talk about the next team. We'll talk about the Colts, who finished last season 9-8. The first thing we got to talk about with the Colts is Anthony Richardson. From a Texans fan, I'm telling you right now, and a fantasy football player, Anthony Richardson is the scariest person in fantasy. Multiple reasons. As a Texans fan, Anthony Richardson scares the shit out of me because he is really, really good whenever he's healthy. Last season, when they were playing the Texans, the Colts that is, Anthony Richardson in the first quarter had 18 fantasy points against the Texans. He had 2 rushing touchdowns and had thrown for like 50 or 60 yards. And then he got hurt. And that was the story with him. I think he played 4 games and then he got hurt and he had to have shoulder surgery. He had a grade 3 AC joint that he had to get surgery for. And he was out for the year.
Oof. Sounds rough.
It was rough. So
wasn't he a rookie last year?
He was a rookie. He got drafted 4th overall.
Damn.
Yeah,
that sucks.
to the Colts. So he's scary because he's so good, and he's for NFL wise. And then in fantasy, I feel like he's just a player that if he stays healthy for all 18 games this year, and you did not draft him, I feel like you're going to lose. Kind of like how last year, if you didn't draft McCaffrey, you basically lost.
Yeah, I passed on him.
Yeah. So I feel like this year, if Anthony Richardson stays healthy for all 18 games and you didn't draft him, your team's dead. Because I really do think that he has the potential to have the Lamar Jackson MVP season. That's how good he is. He's a beast.
Let me some Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. And that's why he's easily the scariest pick for me, is because he scares me because he's so good, but he also scares me because he gets hurt. And it's like, where's that line of you wanting to play the game, but also not wanting to jeopardize your team? Do you want to play it safe? Do you want to go swing for the fences? What do we do? So he's going right now as the QB6.
Ooh.
One spot behind CJ Stroud. And see, this is what I was trying to say before with me disagreeing with CJ going as high as he is. I would draft Anthony Richardson 100 times out of 100 over CJ Stroud in fantasy football. And I wouldn't even think twice about it. I might draft Anthony Richardson behind Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts, and that might be it.
Yeah. I mean, it helps too that he's not a pocket.
I mean, he's ginormous. He's like athletic as hell. He set all the records at the combine when he tried out. He's a monster, and he's going to run a lot. And I really believe in their coach. Shane Steichen of the Colts he's a baller. He took Gardner Minshew last year and made Gardner Minshew look like a complete. He made Gardner Minshew last year look like I don't even know a right analogy for this. Usable? Like a decent quarterback?
It's Gardner mustache.
Yeah, Gardner mustache. Made him look pretty good. I'm not going to lie. Their offense was good. They have a good running back in Jonathan Taylor. Their receivers are fine. You know, Michael Pittman is fine. He got paid. Josh Downs had a decent year last year, and they drafted a rookie, A.D. Mitchell, out of Texas, who was projected like first round pick and dropped into the second, and they grabbed him. So those are their receivers. I mean, I don't think we have any issues with Jonathan Taylor. I don't know if you do or not, but he's getting drafted around.
I mean, Jonathan Taylor's pretty.
He's pretty freaking good. He's getting drafted early second round. I'm perfectly okay with that price. Even though Anthony Richardson is a mobile quarterback, and that kind of scares you when it comes to running backs of the same team. I don't think there's going to be any problems. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to get his regardless. Michael Pittman. I mean, it's just tough because if I have so much doubt and being scared off of Anthony Richardson because of injury, then what does that do with their receivers? I mean,
it's kind of like with the Eagles and Jalen Hurts and, AJ Brown still got lots of touches and lots of points, even though Jalen Hurts was doing a lot of tush pushing.
Yeah, but I think AJ Brown is leaps and bounds better than Michael Pittman.
Oh, for sure.
Well, and Michael Pittman is a third round pick. And I can't really get there. Not when I have concerns about Richardson's health. Josh Downs, he's an A.D. Mitchell. I mean, A.D. Mitchell is a late round dart throw. Sure, I'll grab him as my fourth or fifth wide receiver and hope he turns into something. They don't really have any tight ends. I mean, honestly, if we're just wrapping this up with the Colts, I'm drafting Jonathan Taylor if he's there, in the early second. Anthony Richardson, if I have balls of steel that morning, I will, draft him wherever he's going. I might even reach because I really do think he has that legit Lamar Jackson MVP upside. But he's just so scary. He's just really, really scary. I think the Colts are going to surprise people this year. I think they're going to be better than what people are giving them credit for. But
yeah, they have the weapons.
It's all about Anthony Richardson and whether or not he can stay healthy. If he can stay healthy the majority of the season and you drafted him, you're going to feel great and it's going to be awesome and fantasy is going to be awesome. And at the end of the day, isn't that kind of why we're doing this?
Yeah.
So
I want to win.
I'm going to draft me some Anthony Richardson and close my eyes and never watch him play because every time he gets tackled and falls down, I'm going to I'm going to fall to my knees in the local Walmart.
You better draft the really good backup quarterback.
Yeah. We'll talk about strategies like that later on. But yeah, something along those lines. So So let's talk about the Jaguars now. Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor freaking Lawrence.
So
overpaid.
I have in my notes here. It's pretty simple. And if there are Jaguars fans listening to me, I apologize ahead of time. I kind of have a slight bias, but I'll try to keep it clean. In my notes, I have Trevor Lawrence, barf noise.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I don't. You might have to elaborate on that. I don't know anything about
I'm gonna elaborate.
that.
So I don't think Trevor Lawrence is bad. Is he worth the $55 million a year he got paid? No, at least not from what he's shown. Okay. Every time I've seen Trevor Lawrence play, he'll make like 5 to 7, 8, maybe even like really, really eye-opening good throws a game. He has the ability. I mean, he was a number 1 overall pick. So he has the ability to be a quarterback in this league. But the thing is, he just, for every really amazing eye-opening throw he makes a dumbass boneheaded play too. Like, he fumbles a lot. He throws some really weird interceptions. It feels like he gets really unlucky. Like he throws to the sideline a lot. The Jaguars actually finished last in throwing deep balls over the middle last year. Random stat. The Texans led that category. So it's like a completely different style of play from the Texans. I don't know what to say about Trevor Lawrence. He's a pocket passer with some sneaky runability. Don't know if that's a word, but I'm not drafting him.
Maybe his hair is getting in the way and he thinks he's looking straight.
Maybe. I mean, that might be it, but
it's in the helmet.
I'd rather draft a pocket passer from a better team.
Oh, for sure. I don't think I've ever drafted Trevor Lawrence ever.
I never even thought about drafting Trevor. He might even be on waivers at some point this season.
Yeah.
So do we care about anyone on their team though? Is the question. Because I can talk my crap about Trevor Lawrence. I'm really not trying to talk crap. I'm just trying to keep it real.
I don't know anyone really that's worth anything that is.
So there is value to be had here. I'll be honest. They have
Sure.
Travis Etienne was their running back last year and this upcoming season. Travis Etienne was amazing in the first half. I believe he was the RB3 in the first half of the season. And he kind of fell off after that due to the Jaguars just kind of being ass cheeks. I mean, I think they went 1-7 or something. It was like some weird season for the Jaguars where they just completely collapsed, kind of like the Eagles. Like
the Eagles went to the Super Bowl.
Not last year. I'm talking about last year.
Oh, yeah.
Last year, the Eagles started like 11-1 or something and then completely fell apart.
Yeah, I don't really know what happened about that.
Yeah, we don't talk about that. The Jaguars had kind of a similar season in that they started off real hot, had a 99% chance to make the playoffs, and then ended up missing the playoffs. So they have Etienne, who is a second-round pick. And like I said, he was the RB4 or RB3, RB4 in the first half of last season and then fell off. I really don't know what to do with him. I think there's other running backs I'd prefer to have in the second round. So I'm probably not going to be drafting any ETN. They lost Calvin Ridley and they gained Gabe the Babe Davis.
Gabe the Babe
Davis.
I mean, you can't.
Yeah. So they also drafted a first round wide receiver in Brian Thomas Jr. And they have Christian Kirk coming back from injury.
Christian Kirk is good.
Christian Kirk is good, but he's not. He's just a guy to me. Like he is what he is. He's like a good slot guy, and that's about it. Their tight end Evan Ingram had he was 2 receptions shy of setting the tight end record on a season. And he had 114 receptions and had 4 touchdowns.
Oh,
that's really bad. I don't know if you could tell. 114 catches with only 4 touchdowns is awful. So he, I forget exactly where he finished last year, but he's currently going as the tight end 7. So
I'm good.
So you have Gabe the Babe, who I'm not going to be drafting Gabe the Babe. I'm sorry. I don't believe in Gabe the Babe. You have Brian Thomas and Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk is kind of a PPR scammy play in that he's going to have a lot of catches, but he's not going to have many touchdowns. So he's going to be really good between the 20s, but not in the red zone. I really don't think. Same thing with Evan Ingram. Probably going to be a good chain mover. Not obvious. I mean, he had 4 touchdowns last year. I'm not going to try and depend on Evan Ingram to score a lot of touchdowns, especially since they have more competition this year. The only real target from this entire team, because I'm kind of out on ETN at current price. I mean, I'll draft him, but I prefer other running backs in the second round. The only real weapon I'm like kind of okay with drafting here is Brian Thomas Jr., the rookie. It's a good name to remember. He's going late. I don't know the exact ADP. You can probably look it up eventually, but I mean, he's going late enough that he will probably be your 4th receiver, and he's really good. He's kind of built like Nico. He's tall and really fast. Just for reference, I don't know if you remember Xavier Worthy at the Combine broke the record.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
He broke the record. Yeah, UT. He broke the record for the 40-yard dash. Brian Thomas in the first, so they have a split now in the 40-yard dash. The first half of it, Brian Thomas Jr. in his 40-yard dash was right on pace with Xavier Worthy.
Oh.
Brian Thomas Jr. weighs 45 more pounds than Xavier Worthy.
That's a big
dude. He was
dude.
going the same speed as the dude who set the record, just to show you how explosive that dude is. So he's really fast. He's really tall. He's going to catch touchdowns. He's going to be a deep threat. At his current price, with him probably being your 4th receiver, maybe even 5th receiver, depending on how many you have, he's sneaky. He's a sleeper. And if he's down there and I see him, I'm probably going to be grabbing him.
I like it.
So
I need me those later round
sleepers.
Yes.
So just and the thing is, this year it's in drafts. The last couple of years, it's been a little bit harder to find sleeper receivers because receivers are going earlier than they ever have before. So keeping receivers' names in mind that are going late like he is really important. So just keep the name Brian Thomas in mind. I think he's going to have a good rookie year. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be no top 10 wide receiver, but for where he's being drafted, I think he will return on investment. And I'm not sure if anyone else from this team will. So let's go to the Titans. So the Titans have Will Levis.
Who?
Will Levis. Billy Jeans. Do you get that nickname?
Levi's. Oh my God, it's so hilarious.
Billy Jeans.
It's actually Willie Jeans.
Well, William is all you can never mind. I'm not going to explain the joke. So Will Levis had a very interesting, we'll say, last year. So Will Levis led the league last year with a 20% deep ball percentage. I don't know why you're giving me that look.
He said deep ball.
Deep ball percentage is a pretty crazy stat. 20% is bonkers. That means 1 out of every 5 throws was going over 20 yards.
Maybe as a quarterback, I feel like you should be able to do that. Why don't they all do that?
1 out of every 5 throws?
Yes.
I'm sure the Titans fans would have loved some first downs more than that, So
sure, those are important too.
Let me read the other stat just so because you just asked me why wouldn't you want to do that. His deep ball completion percentage. So remember, 1 out of every 5 throws was deep. His deep ball completion percentage was 35%.
Ew. That seems really low, yeah?
That's really bad.
I was like, am I stupid? Is that really low?
So he chucks it, right? He chucks that shit.
I can throw over 20 yards.
I will say this about Will Levis. He's easy to root for because he just seems like a dummy. He seems like one of us.
one of us.
Like
one of us.
You know when you go to the family barbecue and you have your drunk uncle and you go outside to the front yard.
That's all my uncles.
Yeah, you go to the front yard.
And my dad and my brother.
Everyone in your family.
And me, except for my mom. My mom don't drink.
You go to the front yard and you kind of throw the pigskin around with your, you've been drinking and some dude is just slinging that shit. We eat the pigskin.
We don't actually.
Will Levis just looks like a drunk uncle out there tossing that shit. Okay. The Titans, let me look. The Titans finished 6-11. Okay. I think there are some sneaky players on this team. And the reason why I say that is the Titans are probably going to be one of the 5 worst teams this upcoming season.
Okie Wonky is a Titan.
We'll talk about him in a second. The Titans are probably going to be one of the bottom 5 teams this year. Now, that's how it's projected. Do I think that's actually going to happen? I don't know. They went out and added a lot of weapons for Will Levis. Okay. They signed Calvin Ridley, stole him away from the Jaguars. They have DeAndre Hopkins. Okay. And they signed Tyler Boyd from the Bengals.
Oh.
So the reason why I bring Tyler Boyd up for this is because the head coach of the Titans is the old Bengals offensive coordinator, Brian Callahan.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
So Tyler Boyd is coming from the Bengals, and he already has a rapport with Brian Callahan. Now, Will Levis has some players here to throw the ball to. We know Will Levis is going to be chucking it, right? The Titans, like I said before, are going to be projected bottom 5. So they're going to be throwing the ball a lot. They're going to be down a lot, projectedly. I don't know if that's a word. So I think Hopkins and Ridley are kind of sneaky. I think Hopkins and Ridley have the ability to be 2 kind of good pieces this year. I think they're going to get some volume this year from Will Levis.
I would hope so. I mean, Hopkins used to be really good. Ridley, yes.
Yeah. So
I mean, if you're looking at stats from a couple years ago, all those people are really good. They're all big names.
Yeah. Yeah. So this team would have been amazing 4 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, that would have been a superstar team.
This would have been an all-star team 4 years ago. So do you even know who the running backs are on the Titans? They got rid of Derrick Henry.
Yeah, Derrick Henry was the only one I knew.
So
I didn't know they had other ones.
They had a backup. They had a backup last year named Tajay Spears. Okay, Tajay Spears. I had him on a team, and it was actually kind of funny. He had a very sneaky year. He caught a lot of balls last year. Okay, and he's still there. And they signed Tony Pollard.
Ooh, wasn't it like $55 million for 2 years or something?
That's definitely not what that was. That would be outrageous.
It's $24 million for 3 years.
So he signed $8 million a year. Now, Tony Pollard had a really bad year last year. He was coming off a broken leg. And so they have Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard. And they're going around the same spot in drafts. They're like 8th round. I think that Tajay Spears is a target. I think that Tajay Spears, if they give him the same amount of volume they had last year, which last year he was a backup running back. So, I mean, if he just gets the same backup running back volume, I think he's a pretty good pick in the 8th round. I don't know if I'm going to be drafting any Tony Pollard. I'm kind of scared off of his last year.
It's like I said, I'm a Cowboyist.
Sure, you can be a Cowboyist. I'm a broken legist, I don't know if I can trust someone who broke their leg and then look like complete crap the next season to really bounce back.
You never know. It might surprise you,
Maybe, but I mean, I think Tajay gets drafted after Tony Pollard. I'd rather just have Tajay straight up. So, I mean, it is what it is. Chig. Onky Wonky, as you put it.
Onky Wonky. I can't say his name.
Okonkwo?
Okonkwo.
He's dust. He's You want
I just like his name.
Okay.
All right.
Chig is like Dalton Schultz. If Dalton Schultz was on a shittier team with a shittier quarterback.
Because you got Hopkins, Ridley, Boyd, Pollard.
Yeah. He's like 5th or 6th target on that team with Billy Jeans throwing him the ball. So I think Chig would be lucky to get 3 catches a game this year. Average. So
he did really well last year.
Not really. Not really.
He was on my bench.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever actually played him.
Pretty sure you were really mad that you drafted him by like game 7.
I don't think I actually ever played him.
Yeah. So I don't think you have to worry about Chig. Like I said before, I think you look at the receivers here. You can take a flyer on Ridley. You can take a flyer on Hopkins, whichever one you really want. I don't have a really strong conviction either way. I like both of them for different reasons. If I had to pick one, I think I'm leaning Ridley just because Ridley got the money and he's a little bit younger. And I think he's still a little bit more explosive. Not saying Hopkins is bad. I feel like a Hopkins has always been kind of a possession receiver. He kind of can't break away very well. He's more so just he makes contested catches. And if I have a dude who threw 35%, deep ball passes last year, I think I'd just rather have the receiver that's able to separate a little bit better to give him a better opportunity to catch it. So I'm totally cool with drafting Ridley. I'm cool if you draft Hopkins too. And I'm cool with Spears. And that's weird to say that I'm cool with three of the weapons on a team that's projected with 6 wins or whatever it is. But, it just shows you how fantasy works. I'm completely out on CJ Stroud and I'm in on Billy Jeans.
Oh, you're also completely out on, never mind, completely different division. Sorry. Okay.
Well, so that's just how fantasy works. And, the thing about fantasy is finding value. And right now, CJ Stroud is not worth the value, in my opinion. And Hopkins and Ridley are. It just is what it is. So that was the AFC South. Who would you project to win this division?
I would hope the Texans, because the Texans have just a great team on paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you guys got rid of the pastor.
Got rid of the pastor and the
nothing bad on the pastor. As a pastor.
I'm not going to speak good of Jack Easterby. Thank you very much.
Sure. We'll call him Jack Easterby because calling him just a pastor makes it sound bad.
Sure. And Bill O'Brien, got rid of him. And I think the Texans are on the up and up. I cannot wait to watch them play football this year.
Yeah, they're very fun to watch.
They're very fun to watch. They have a ton of weapons. They're going to be going up against a bunch of good teams. They have 6 primetime games. They're going to be really fun to watch.
Yeah, I remember when you were complaining how they didn't have any primetime game. Yeah, and the Eagles had like every other weekend primetime.
It was the Jets. It was the Jets.
They were supposed to have Aaron Rodgers.
Sure. Yeah.
But except Aaron Rodgers played for like 0.0001 seconds.
Last year, the Texans didn't have any primetime games, not a single one. Now, they did get one flexed in week 18 because it was for the division, but they didn't have any primetime games, which I felt was kind of blasphemous considering they just drafted a QB at 2nd overall. But it's been fixed this year. They have everyone's going to be able to watch them. Everyone loves CJ Stroud. I really haven't seen anyone that dislikes him. So
you can't dislike a godly man.
You cannot. So here we are. So you like the Texans to win the division. How about the rest?
Yeah, I've never really been a big fan of any other teams in the AFC South.
Okay.
Except for, when Peyton Manning was still in the league and he was still a Colt.
Mm-hmm.
That was the last time that I ever really liked any other team there.
Fair enough. Well,
I'm just a bandwagoner for the Texans.
You have to be. You know me. So I'll say this. If you could tell me with a crystal ball right now that Anthony Richardson plays the whole season, I'm picking the Colts to win this division.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I really love where the Colts are at. I think they have a really good coach. I think they have a great offensive line. They have a top tier running back. They have a quarterback who, like I said before, is scary just because I don't know if he can stay healthy, but I know if he does, he's going to be really, really good. There's just not a lot I don't like about the Colts, man. Now, being the Texans homer that I am, I'm going to go back and say I think the Texans will win this division because I don't think Anthony Richardson's going to stay healthy for 18 games or 17 games. I just don't see it. I think he's too violent with the way he plays. I think he runs a lot and gets tackled and gets hit hard. It's like I said, if you could promise me he stays healthy the whole season, I would pick them. But you can't. We haven't seen it yet. So I'm going to go with the Texans. I'm going to go with the Colts second, with that same caveat that I was saying before. I think those two teams are the best in the division by far. And then I'm going to sound like a hater, I know. I like the Titans over the Jaguars. The Titans are projected for bottom 5, but I really do think they're going to win some games this year that are going to surprise people.
I don't even have anything. Like I don't have any inputs on the Jaguars at all.
I just have no faith in the Jaguars. I really don't. And now that they're paying Trevor Lawrence and they have these receivers, like they better hope that Brian Thomas is like the next thing. You know, if he's not, I mean, what do they do, man? I don't know. So that's my kind of hot take. I think the Titans are going to have a better record than the Jaguars. I think the Jaguars are going to be a bottom 7 team in the league. And that might be hot takey, but you know, that's just what I think. So yeah, Texans, Colts, Titans, Jaguars is for me.
Sounds good to me because, yeah, like I said, I don't follow South.
Yeah, I get it. So that was the AFC South. I like talking about this division. I know a lot about this division.
Yeah, I don't.
It's fine. We're going to be talking about the AFC East next episode with the Bills, Jets, Dolphins, and the Pats.
Yeah, I know a lot less about them also.
Okay, well, it's all right. I know everything, so it'll be fine.
You're the encyclopedia.
I'm the encyclopedia. So that's what we're going to be talking about next episode. Thank you guys for joining us for the AFC South breakdown. My name is Jeremy.
My name is Kay.
And we are the Fantasy Dummies. And we'll check you guys out in the next episode.
Ta-da!
Bye.